This week on 60 Minutes, we interview two men who lived through the changes going on in the 1920s. From the movie boom to development and increase of the sports we now love today, the 1920s changed all aspects of the entertainment industry. Today we will learn from personal accounts how the entertainment industry influenced and changed America. When do you remember the entertainment industry changing?
I first remember seeing my first silent film back in 1921. It was called The Silent Carriage. I only paid 23 cents to go see that film. I can just remember how excited people were to go to see the movies. Theaters were full and could fit hundreds of people at a time.
How did films shape culture in this era?
Movies were a way to bring communities together. Theaters were different depending on the class and ethnicity. And there was even a different movie house created to allow the working class to be able to watch movies at a lower price than other places. My family was wealthier, so our theaters had nicer seating and showed performances before the actual movies and for added entertainment.
What were some of your favorite movies at the time?
One of my favorite movies was A Circus starring Charlie Chaplin. He was known for being in comedies before talkies were introduced. While there were some comedy films, most were dramas such as Fletch and the Devil, starring Greta Garbo. She was the first actress known to use method acting.
When do you remember the movie entertainment industry changing?
I remember when talkies first came in the scene. Everyone was raving about the jazz singer and how there was sound in the movie. While now it just seems like a normal thing and not much of a big deal, back then it was a revolutionary development. Movies became even more popular then. It was weird if you weren't seeing the latest movie every week. I remember a trip when I took to Hollywood when it was still on the rise. I traveled there in 1925, and by this point, Hollywood had already become the world's largest film capital. It was creating over 800 movies per year.
Go. And it's no wonder he recognized this spike in movie interest. In the middle of the 20s, movie attendance was around 50 million watchers a week, but once talkies became popular in the late 20s, attendance soared to nearly 110 million. Places like Chicago had enough seats in movie theaters for half of the population to watch a movie every day. At the end of the decade, the movie business was considered to be the fifth largest industry in the entire United States, with 90% of the U.S. population taking part in watching a movie every week. Going to see a film wasn't the only form of entertainment during this time. Sports came into their golden era in the 20s, with sporting heroes like Babe Ruth creating exciting events and television for the nation to watch. For our second interview, we asked Janice about sports in her time and its place in the history of American culture. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Sports when you were growing up was very different from today. Only in its early years, it was still finding itself.
Yes and no. It was still new to being shown on a national stage, but the sports themselves, the attitudes of myself and my fellow sportsmen remain the same. All we ever wanted to do was win and succeed, whether it was at a public park or in front of thousands of fans. But it is true that America was changing in its perspective on sports.
Speaking of the American attitude, sports seems to have given the public a similar hero to root for.
Oh, definitely. Athletes were transitioning from random, regular people to national heroes. It did, like you say, give America someone to root for. There was something about watching extremely skilled people do their work that captured America's attention.
What do you think caused this sudden spike in popularity for sports?
Competition. Competition automatically gives you a story to follow, a hero, and a villain. News companies playing it up certainly helped too. I think organized championships and teams based on regions helped as well. People wanted to see folks from their area be the best in the country.
You mentioned earlier that sportsmen became heroes at the time. How has that carried sports to where it is today?
Well, of course, people see that admiration and they want a piece of it. They want to be admired for their skill and talent, so they try and become skilled at a certain sport with that end goal in mind. But in the process, they fall in love with it. So over time, it transforms from a hobby to a passion, to compete, to play, to be the best. And then the cycle continues.
Live attendance of sports events spiked during this time as well, correct?
Yes, people hear these stories of these heroes with skills most people could only dream of, competing to win. They want to see it in person, to witness it with their own eyes. It's one thing on the radio, having broadcasts tell you how incredible it is, but it's an entirely different thing to see it for yourself.
What do you think has been a remaining impact sports have had on America?
I think sports brings people together, especially those actually competing. Testing your skills against the best there is, it's a very intense feeling. Winning, proving you're the best, is beyond gratifying. Losing, but then getting better, proving you have the best work and the drive to be the best, then finally winning is even better. But athletes, though they usually butt heads, have a massive respect for each other. They use each other to get better. Though they may not like each other, they're closer because they share that respect. The fans, too, were brought closer together. With someone to root for or to unite against, they all shared something in common to bond over. Even rival teams shared sports as something in common to bring them closer. You could have two people who share completely nothing with each other, but love a sport, and that could be the start of a relationship.
Thank you for tuning in to 60 Minutes, where we saw how the increase of sports and film popularity changed America forever.